If you're a small business and you spend a lot of time answering customer questions, then this video is going to be for you. Many businesses can spend hours every day responding to customer questions, and often these questions can be very repetitive. Automating this process can make a huge difference to your business, and it's actually simpler than you might think. This will not only free up your time to focus on other activities and growing your business, but also can provide a much better experience for your customers because they're getting answers to their questions quickly. So today, we're going to build a customer support chatbot that you can deploy on your website and social media channels that can handle incoming questions and also capture leads. So this is something that I've actually built and launched. So it's not just something I feel like can work in a business, it's something that I've tested and I know that it can make a direct impact. A client that I've been working with for the last 3 years has what I would describe as a good problem. They build these really beautiful modular homes and garden pods, and they get a lot of interest from customers. They also have a very strong social media presence, so customer questions are not just flooding in through the website, but also across different social media platforms. Now, buying a pod for your home or adding it as an extension, it's obviously a big purchase decision. So customers naturally have a lot of questions about how it works, what the prices, the materials that are used, and just general logistics. But these questions put a huge amount of strain on what is a pretty small team. So we looked for a way to automate this to help their team out so they would have more time to focus on actual customers and people who have already bought. In my opinion, this is one of the simplest ways to introduce AI into your business and start leveraging it to save time. And don't worry if you're not a technical person, this is going to be super simple to follow. I'll provide you with all the instructions and walk you through each step, so really anyone can do this. Okay, so before we actually get into building this chatbot, let me just quickly cover what it does, and we'll run through exactly what I'm going to cover in this video. So first of all, it's going to be deployed on your website and social media channels, so it can answer customer questions on these platforms and provide really detailed responses to whatever the customers are asking. And the key to that is the knowledge base that we're going to build. This is like a repository of documents that provides information on your solutions, your company, and the AI can then retrieve information from these documents and use it in its responses. So it'll answer questions, provide detailed responses on your products and services. And we're also going to build a lead form function. So if people are interested, we can insert a lead form into the chat, capture their name, phone number, email address, and then automatically send this to a CRM, a Google Sheet, or even just email it to someone on the team. So what this actually means, you can provide 24/7 customer support to your customers. You can provide a much better experience because they're not wondering about information, they're not navigating through different pages, they get instant answers to their questions and actually detailed responses to the specific questions they're looking for. It also saves your team a huge amount of time responding to repetitive questions. And by inserting the lead form function, you're actually not going to miss out on sales opportunities. So if leads are hot and they're interested, we're going to be able to capture their information straight away and send it to a team member to process. So in this video, I'll show you how to build a chatbot from scratch. And again, don't worry if you don't have technical experience, it's going to be super simple to build. I'm also going to show you how to build your custom knowledge base and give you an example of how to set that up. I've included a free prompt template that you can customize for your business, so that will be in the link in the description. You can download that and customize it, and it has everything you need to plug straight into the platform. I'll also show you how to set up the lead form function, so we can capture leads and then send them to a member of the team. And then I'll show you how to deploy this to your website and social media channels. Okay, so the platform we're going to be using to actually build this chatbot is Chatbase. I've tested out quite a few different platforms and I found this the easiest to use. They have all the features that you might need, like analytics and lead form functions. It's also a very easy user interface to get used to. And they also have pretty flexible pricing plans. So you can actually get started for free on Chatbase. So you don't have to pay anything just to test it out and see how it works. And then their plans, I think, are $18 per month to start using this. So it's a pretty straightforward platform and it's definitely one I would recommend. There's going to be a link in the description if you want to click that and sign up to Chatbase. That can also help me out. But let's actually get into the dashboard and start building this thing. Okay, so once you sign up to Chatbase, what you want to do is click on New Chatbot. And the first screen we're going to get to here is your data sources. And this is really the knowledge base of your assistant. So you can think of this almost like the brain. So whatever you want your agent to be able to answer questions on, you're going to add the information here that it can retrieve from. So you have a couple of different options. You can upload files, you can directly paste in text, you can also scrape your website, which is really useful. So you can directly pull information from your website, or you can add different questions. So if you want to actually have a little bit more control over the questions and how it answers them, you can add them directly here. For this example, and what I'm going to build out today is going to be for a luxury spa, a made-up company called Serene Escapes. And what I've done is I've created a few sample documents for this knowledge base. What I'm going to do is just upload them now. Okay, so I've uploaded my 2 knowledge base documents. You may want to add more depending on your situation, but for this example, I'm using an accommodation guide. So for my luxury resort, what type of rooms we have, what's included, what are the different features of those rooms, and also the pricing. And then I have a frequently asked questions document, which goes through all the details of frequently asked questions from customers or anything related to the customer stay. So whatever you want your agent to have access to, you're going to want to include it here. I also have a different video specifically on knowledge bases and how to set them up. It's important to structure them, make them formatted correctly so the agent can actually access information quickly, find what it's looking for, and then provide detailed responses. So definitely work some time looking at your knowledge base and setting it up correctly. Okay, so once you've added your knowledge base document, you've clicked create your assistant, you're going to then get to the playground screen here where you can actually start to engage with and talk to your assistant and start to see how it responds to different questions. But for now, we're going to jump over to settings. If you haven't already, you can just give your agent a name here. And the first thing we're going to do is go to AI, and this is going to be where we add our prompt. So if you haven't already, the prompt is going to be linked in the description, so you can download that, and we'll run through that quickly now just so you have an understanding of how that works. So this is the prompt template. You can see I've broken it down into different headings, and these are usually the structure we try to follow if we're building any type of agent. So we're giving it a role, we're outlining the task and the different conversation steps. So this one is quite simple. It's going to listen to customer questions, it's going to answer them clearly using the knowledge base, and then it's going to, when it feels like it's the right time, transition to lead collection and trigger that lead form that we spoke about. It's then going to close the conversation, thank the person for contacting us, and tell them if they have any further questions, they can reach out. We're also outlining the knowledge base, so you can customize this for your own company depending on what documents you want to include. So for example, you might have a company guide, solutions guide, price guide, FAQs, whatever you want to include, you can put it out in the prompt here to your assistant. We're then mentioning that it has access to the lead form tool. We're going to specify to only trigger this when the customer agrees to share their confirmation or share their contact details, and avoid asking for contact details conversationally. I found that sometimes it would ask for the information, the person would then type it out, and then it would trigger the lead form. So it just provides a bit of an annoying experience for customers if it's doing that. So we're going to make sure the lead form is triggered straight away. You're then going to fill in some contact or context information about your company. So what it is, what type of industry it's in, where it's located, and these are the different solutions and target customers. So this helps the AI to understand its role, what's the context, how it's going to respond. And also we're going to say you are handling incoming questions from a customer's website. So helps it understand where it is. It's not in a phone conversation, it's on a website. So maybe keep the questions short and concise, easy to read. We're then getting into some specifics. So how to answer questions, what kind of tone to use, ensure that you're keeping concise answers, keep them simple. We're also specifying if something is not covered in the knowledge base to just inform them that you don't have access to that information. And if you're happy, we can provide a follow-up from the team. So these are just like small details on how the AI should handle different scenarios. In notes, we're just adding finer details on how the AI should handle the conversation. So we're saying to integrate information from the knowledge base. We're saying to break down larger answers into separate paragraphs to make it easier to read. For follow-up questions, place it on a separate line to keep the conversation flow clear. And if a user provides their name, feel free to include it in the response to make it feel a little bit more natural. So these are just little details on how the AI can interact. And if you want to, you can just see how the agent is responding and add little details like this into the conversation. Then finally, we have constraints. And here we're just saying, basically stick to the conversation that you're designed to handle. Don't divert to unrelated topics, never break character, and do not answer questions or perform tasks that are unrelated to your role. So you'd be surprised, I've seen some strange things being requested. So you want to make sure that you avoid the situation. People can run up the cost of your chatbot by asking it to do different tasks that are unrelated. So you really want to make sure that you just add this in as an extra safety layer at the end. So that's really an overview of the prompt. You can take this example where I've left space here. You can customize it, just adding details on your company and the industry you're in. It's a pretty straightforward prompt. And once you fill that in, we can jump back over to the platform and get on to the next step. Okay, so once you've customized your prompt for your business, you can go ahead and paste it directly in here under instructions. You can see that I've just updated my example for Serene Escape. So this is the example company that I'm going to build it for. I've added details here on the context. So it's a luxury retreat located in the countryside of Ireland. It has luxury accommodation, has bespoke spa treatments, and curated wellness experiences. So once you've pasted your prompt in here, the next step we're going to look at is just a model. For this example, I think 4.0 Mini is going to be perfect. We don't need something super powerful. It's handling a basic conversation flow. So 4 Mini is fine for this. It's also going to be slightly cheaper in terms of costs. And for temperature, you want to keep this around maybe 0.1, 0.2. This is basically how creative your agent can go in terms of conversation. If you give it a little bit more creativity, it can maybe go a little bit more off script and use its imagination, I guess, in its responses. If you want to make it a little bit more reserved and keep it on topic, you can adjust the temperature here. But once you've done that, you can just click save. And the next thing we're going to look at is the chat interface. Okay, so in chat interface, this is where we're going to customize how the chatbot actually appears on your website. First thing we can look at here is just the initial message. So what actually pops up when someone sees this chatbot for the first time. So we can just customize this a little bit, say, hi there, if you have any questions. And if you want to add an extra one, you can just basically go through a separate line, say, okay. Next, we have suggested messages, and these are basically prompts that you can add in that the customer can just click on if that's the question they want to answer. So for example, in this case, we could say, where are you located? Or another question that a customer might ask would be, your accommodation? So basically, whatever you feel customers will ask frequently, you can add these customized messages that the user can then just click on and the AI can provide an answer to. So these are helpful just as like conversation starters to get people actually engaging with your chatbot. Message placeholder, this is just an example. So for here, you might want to say, you can type your question here. For collect user feedback, we're going to leave this on. So if people like the response, they can give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. This is kind of helpful for some feedback. For regenerate message, we're going to turn this off. We don't want to run up our bill or run up the amount of tokens we're using by just regenerating messages over and over. It's not really that helpful. For your footer, you can feel free to include a link here to whatever you like. I would recommend maybe including your privacy policy and how you handle customer data. For the theme, you can choose between light or dark, depending on how your website looks. You can customize that to suit it. For your display name, you've already given it a title here. If you want to customize what it is, maybe have a different sort of name for your chatbot, you can do so here. I think for now, Serene Escape's AI assistant is okay for me. And you can also add a profile picture. So let me just select one. In this case, we'll go with a little spa feature. Okay, so we have our little profile picture here, and also when the chat is not opened, we have this little icon, so you can select a different image if you like, or use the same image. This will be the image that appears down the bottom right hand side before the chat is actually opened. Okay, so you can start to see our chat interface kind of take shape. Next, what we can do here is change the message color. So we kind of have a nice green here. So maybe let's go with something like that. Something that has a little bit of contrast that we can see. Let's go with this dark green. The chat bubble color is kind of like this example that Chatbase are using here. So again, you might want to customize this depending on the theme of your website, whatever color. If you're using something dark as your background color on your website, maybe you want to go with something lighter, something that stands out. But for now, I think the black is okay. Align chat, which side of the screen would you like this on, right or left? I think right is what most people are used to, so I would leave that there. And then finally, this auto show initial message. This is how long should it wait before the initial message pops up on the website. I think 3 seconds is perfect. So people arrive on your website and after a few seconds, the first message that you've added here will appear. So you can save this. You can also start to engage with your chatbot here and really play around with how it's responding to these questions. I would definitely recommend testing out different suggested messages. You want to encourage people to start engaging with this. So test a few out, see how people are interacting with them. Are they using these suggested messages? Maybe there's other ones that they're asking more frequently about. You may want to add them in there. But once you're done here, just going to click save. And the other option we're going to look at just for now is security. So under security, we just have a few things here related to where your chatbot can be shown and also how people can engage with it. So if you want to keep it private while you're building it, that's fine. But once you're going to go public, you're obviously going to want to switch this on. I would also recommend, once you have it ready to go, to add your allowed domains here and turn this on. This will control that your chatbot can only be allowed to be showed on your domain, your website URL, which you're going to add here. And then finally, I would definitely recommend setting a chat limit here, so you can limit the number of messages that people can send in a period of time. This can prevent people just running up your chat and basically maxing out the amount of tokens that you're using. You don't want people to just abuse this and basically waste all of your budget. So you can set a limit here. I think 20 is okay for this amount of time. So just something to keep in mind to protect your billing. Okay, so once you're done with your chat interface, you've set the settings, you can then head over to the playground and you can actually start to interact with your assistant and see how it responds. So this is going to really be your testing area. You can chat to it, ask it different questions, see if it's providing accurate responses, and then maybe go back to your prompt and change some details if you need to. So let's just try something out here. Let's start with one of the conversation starters. So where are you located? Okay, so it's located in the scenic countryside of Wicklow, Ireland, just 1.5 hours from Dublin, and it's picked up the area code that I've included in the knowledge base. Okay, so let's just say something like R. Currently, we do not allow pets. Okay, that's perfect. So if you have any further questions about your stay, please let me know. Okay, so what are your different accommodations options? It's going to list them here. It's pulling in the correct information from the knowledge base that I provided. And you can start to get an idea of how useful this can be. This is like your front line in terms of questions coming in through your website. These are probably everyday questions that someone on your team might have to answer. And for the customers, they may be ready to buy, they may be ready to go, but they're probably waiting for a response if they haven't found this on your website. So being able to answer their questions instantly like this, and not only answer their questions, but really give them specific answers to what they're asking for, it really unlocks a lot of time saving and can really make a big difference to your team. And you might be thinking, like, why don't I just add this information to my website? Surely people can just find it there. I think the truth is people are pretty lazy when it comes to accessing this information on your website. They don't spend a lot of time going through different pages. Even if the information is there and you've laid it out quite clearly, people skim. They're looking for answers very quickly and they're looking for specific questions. So you could have a very detailed FAQ section, a really nicely laid out website, but something like this just gives them instant access to the answer that they're looking for, and it can also get them to the next step. So you can create a really powerful knowledge base and set up your assistant like this, and it's going to be able to provide those real-time answers to your customers. The next step that we need to look at now is actually capturing information. So in the prompt, we've said to our assistant to respond to customer questions and answer them as accurately as possible. But then when you get a sense that they're interested, we can start to progress them to lead capture. So let's look at setting that up right now. Okay, so if you navigate over to the Actions tab here, you can see we have a couple of different options to choose from. The one we're going to be using for is collect leads, and this is quite easy to set up. But you can also add in different features here which are really nice, like a custom button. Maybe you want to include a link to a downloadable PDF or brochure, you could do that here. You can also do web search, or if you're maybe using something that's maybe a more appointment based, you can actually directly insert your Calendly or cal.com to retrieve available slots and insert them directly into the chat. So really useful way to just streamline that. It's cutting out an extra step that a person might have to do going through a member of your team. They could just access the open slots in your calendar and book straight in. You also have an option here to send a Slack message. So maybe if this is more something you're using for a corporate business, you could just send a message to your team saying someone signed up, or please connect with this person. But for our option, we're going to be using a custom lead form. So we can go ahead and click on create action. Okay, so the first thing we're going to fill in here is telling the AI when to use this function. So we're going to describe what it is and also when it should trigger it in the conversation. So I'm just going to paste in an example here saying, use this lead form when the user expresses an interest in making a booking, speaking with, or getting a personalized quote for the team. So pretty straightforward. You're just telling the agent that this is when you should call this function. Once you fill that in, click save. And the next is just going to be your success message. So what's displayed when the user actually fills in the form. I think what they have here is perfect. So thank you. Here, if the lead form is actually triggered and the person cancels it, what message do you want the AI to show? So in this case, we might say something like, okay, so if you have any more questions, please let me know. You can click and save that. And next, what actual fields of information do we want to capture? So email is going to be useful, would also make this required, name and phone number. So perfect. We can capture all this information. And on the right hand side here, you can actually see how this looks. So this is what will actually pop up in the chat. When the form is submitted, it will say, thank you. A member of the team will be in touch shortly. If they exit out of it, it'll say, if you have any more questions, please let me know. So pretty simple. We have our lead form set up. We can click save. And now we just need to connect this lead form to either a Google Sheet, to a CRM, or how to send this information to a member of the team. So we're going to look at how to do that now. Okay, so to actually connect this lead form to a Google Sheet or a CRM, we're going to use a tool called make.com. And if you're not familiar with make.com, don't worry, it's a very simple and straightforward tool to use. You can go to make.com and create a free account. It's free to set up and you can create your scenario there. So this is not going to cost you anything extra. So once you've created your account or logged in, you can go to create a new scenario. And the scenario in this case is going to be really simple and straightforward to set up. Basically, what we're going to use is a custom webhook. And the webhook is basically just a trigger. It's an action that when it's called, it can trigger a series of different actions that follow. So first of all, we're just going to add this custom webhook module, and then we're going to create a new one and give it a name. So let's call this lead form and just click save. And what we want to do now is copy address of this webhook and take it back to our chatbot. So if we navigate over to settings here, you can see that we have webhooks here. And what I want to do is just paste this in here, and we can also turn on our lead submit. So this is basically just connecting our lead form that we've just created in our chat to this scenario in Make, and we can click create webhook here. Okay, so it's created the webhook. It's also given us this secret key. This is like a password just to protect it. So we can save this somewhere if we need it for later, and we can just click on done. Next, we're going to go back over to make.com. We have our trigger, our starting point, but what do we actually want to connect it to? So once this form is triggered, we might want to connect it to a CRM. So you can maybe use Airtable or something like that. Or in this case, just to keep something very simple, we're going to use a Google Sheet. And the one we're going to use here is add a row. So we're going to send information to a Google Sheet, and it's going to create a new row with that customer's information. So if you want to also use a Google Sheet for your CRM, you can set up something very simple like I've done just here. So I've just created a new sheet. I've added 4 columns. So the first one is going to be the date created. So this is the time when the lead was actually added to the file. And the 3 fields of information that we're capturing through the lead form. So name, email, and phone number. So once you have your sheet set up, you can just actually search for it. So it's in my drive and I can choose the file here. So once you've searched your Google Sheet and you've selected it here, you can see that it actually picks up the different column names. In this case, we have our date created, our name, our email, and phone number already here. And what we need to do now is just map that information that's coming from that lead form into our Google Sheet so it falls into the right columns. So for this very first one, we're actually going to take a value directly here from Make, and this is just a timestamp. So it's going to insert the current date and time into the date field. So whenever this record was created, it's just going to populate that field. For these other values, we're actually going to go back to our agent and we're going to test out the lead form function and send some information through so we can then match those records to the right column. Okay, so if we go back over to our agent and in the playground, we can actually trigger this lead form function and then fill in our details and send it through Make so we can map those different fields. So if I just type in, I'm interested in making a booking. Let's see how the agent responds. That's wonderful to hear. Would you be interested in personal follow-up from our team? Yes. And then it's going to go ahead, hopefully, yes, and trigger the lead form function. So let me just fill in my details. And click submit. So if we go back to make.com, now that we've actually submitted the form, you can see that the information has passed through the different modules. So don't forget before you submit the lead form to turn your Make scenario on. But if we go back into editing this now, we can actually map those different fields correctly. So you can see here we have the information coming through from the webhook. So under name, we're going to add customer name. Under email, customer email, and then the phone number, like so. So that's it. That's basically all the information we need to capture and add it to our Google Sheet. So we can click OK, and we can also give our scenario name. So in this case, it'll be lead form to Google Sheet. And once that's all done, click save. And this is basically all you need to do to pass that information through. If you wanted to change this out, as I said, you can use a CRM and directly send that into your CRM. But for this example, a Google Sheet is absolutely fine. There's a couple more things that we can do just to make our lives a little bit more easy. So if we head back over to our assistant and we go to settings and notifications, you can also set up a notification system here that will send you a daily batch of people that have submitted your lead form. So you can turn this on. you can add your email address here. And then what it will do at the end of the day, whoever's submitted your form and submitted their information, it'll just give you an update on who those people were. So that's handy if you don't want to go in and constantly check the sheet. You can just get a daily notification here. So just to make sure everything is working correctly and everything from the lead form is working, let's just do this again. Let's say, can I speak to the team? Would you like to be interested in that? Yes. So what we can do is go ahead and just fill this in. Then we can go back to our Google Sheet, and you can see here our date, name, email address, and phone number is being passed correctly. So that's great. We know our information is getting to where we need it to be. Okay, so now you basically have a fully functioning customer support chatbot. You can start to play around in the playground here. You can test it out, see how it's responding to different questions. If you don't like how it's responding to certain questions, it'll actually give you the option to revise the answer. You can also go back into your prompt, maybe make some adjustments there. You can adjust how it's handling different situations or add different conversation steps to your prompt. You can also edit your knowledge base. So if you want to give it access to more information, if you want to add more details, you can do that there. But let's actually take a look at how you would deploy this to your website. So obviously, once you're happy with this, you want to get it out there into the world. So what we would do is go to connect. And you can see here we have two different options here. So what we want to do is grab this chat bubble, and we're going to paste this script into our website. So let's just go ahead and copy this script. Okay, so once we've copied our snippet, we can head over to our website builder. I'm using Webflow. It may be a little bit different for whatever website platform you're using, but the idea will still be the same. What we're going to do is add an element towards the end of our page, and it's going to be a custom embed element. So we want this code embed, and we're just going to paste our Chatbase snippet in here. Click save and close. And in order to see this, we'll actually need to publish our website. So let me go ahead and do that. So now if I open up my site, you can see that I have my little chatbot widget here. It's displaying my custom questions. Hi there, if you have any questions, please let me know. I can answer anything. And if I open this up, I have my fully functioning chat assistant on my website, which I can start to engage with. Okay, so now you have a fully functioning customer support chatbot deployed on your website. It can sit there, answer questions, and you can really just start to customize this and build this out in many ways. If you want to have a look at the chat analytics, you can do so here. You can see the actual chats coming in, and as I mentioned before, if you don't like how it's responding to a certain question, you can actually click here and just revise the answer. That's a really easy way just to have a little bit more control over how it's responding to your customers. You can also click in here and see your leads, and if you want, export them at any time. If you want to look at analytics, it's going to give you some nice information here on how many chats it's handling, if customers reacted positively to those chats or negatively with the thumbs up and thumbs down. And you can also get an idea of what countries your people or your customers are coming to you from. So analytics is a really powerful way to check in and see how your agent is performing, and really just start to tailor the responses that your AI is using. Finally, as we mentioned before, if you want to then roll this out to your social media channels, you can do so here. So you can connect this to Slack, you can connect it to WhatsApp, you can also connect it to your Facebook Messenger and Instagram. So I would recommend using it for a little while, testing it yourself. Once you're happy with it, deploy it to your website, start to see how it's responding, how people are engaging with it, maybe make a little adjustment here and there. And then once you're happy to roll it out to your social media channels, you can do so here. It's very simple just to connect your account and deploy it there. Okay, so that's it. You now have a fully functioning customer support chatbot that you can add to your website, but also your social media channels. And hopefully you can start to get a sense of how engaging this can be for your customers and how useful this can be for your team. For your customers, they're going to get detailed and very accurate answers to questions that they're looking for. They don't have to wait around for your team to respond. But for your team, it really saves a lot of time responding to these repetitive questions that come in on a daily basis. If your chatbot can answer maybe 50-60% of those questions that are coming in repetitively, That's a huge amount of time that your team can save to allow them to focus on other opportunities, other areas that you might be focusing on, or even just focusing on customers that are further along your sales process. As I've mentioned, I think this is the simplest and most effective way to introduce AI into your business and start leveraging it to save time. AI can sometimes seem a little bit intimidating, especially if you don't have any developer experience, but something like this is very accessible to everyone. And for small businesses with a small team, something like this can be a real game changer. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you drop it a like. I'm also going to leave a link to my LinkedIn in the description, so if you'd like to connect there, maybe send me a message, let me know what you're building. I'd love to connect and hear about that. I'm also going to be uploading more videos in this space, so if you're interested in AI and how you can add it to your business, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.